within about 24 hours, maybe 36 hours, we'd raised $65,000. And I understand there's more money coming in as we speak. But FEMA called Gallagher and said, hey, the amateur radio operators are doing such a good job, we would like to have 50 ourselves, because the Red Cross was who contacted us initially. And so we've got 50 more people, 25 more teams that we're trying to assemble to help FEMA out in that coordination. So it's a remarkable undertaking. We've never done anything like this before. You've never seen anything like this in amateur radio history before. And the hams are there, and we're the #1 communicators out of that disaster area, and will be for weeks to come. We're trying to get a repeater on top of a hill right now, so they can use 100 HTs that were sent down just a day ago, so they can get to that western side of the island that we're all hearing so much about. So there's an army of communicators. We're all an army of communicators, and boy, we're showing it now, and the world is watching. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Well, you know, we have Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, so, you know, some lessons learned from this. It might be we keep some permanently deployed equipment there on that mountain, say, et cetera, in cooperation with locals. You know, there's one thing we can say about MFJ, and that they do so many different products. And you occasionally get somebody that we might call Mr. Cranky Pants, or somebody use the MFJ acronym in a way that's inappropriate. I want to acknowledge what I consider the formal meaning of MFJ, and that's Mississippi's finest jewel. Dave Norris, why don't you come up and talk about Delta Vision? As he comes up, I am remiss in not recognizing two people. Mike McKay, N5DU from the Central Mississippi Amateur Radio Association. Would you stand, please? Mike is here, and he'll be part of the speaking program in a moment. But we also have Dave Randall and his family and crew here from WTWW outside of Nashville. They've been broadcasting at MFJ headquarters. 100,000 watt station. They come here on their own nickel because they love ham radio. Would you give a round of applause for the Randalls and group? Okay, Dave Norris, Delta Division Director.
Thank you, Frank. Mississippi's finest jewel. I like that, absolutely, absolutely. Martin is the jewel at MFJ. He is a bright point of light in amateur radio. We are so proud of him in the Delta Division, and for MFJ and everything they do for the league and for amateur radio and for youth in amateur radio. A lot of those products were sent to Puerto Rico, like Rick said, with the gear that went down there. So Martin, you're making a difference in many lives. Your company's making a difference in many lives. You, sir, are a success story, an American success story, and a Mississippi success story. On behalf of the Delta Division, congratulations on 45 years, and we're looking forward to number 50. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, David. Thank you very much. We've got our section manager, Malcolm Cowan. Y'all may not know Malcolm. He's a little shy sometimes. I may have to introduce you to Malcolm. Malcolm is, I think, the longest serving section manager in the league. Malcolm?
That's a long time. Thank you, Frank. Long ago and far away, when the dinosaurs were still roaming through Ocklawaha County, I had a conditional license. How many of you were conditional? Hold up your hand there. Yeah, there's a few of us left there, old buzzards. And I liked CW, so I had a Vibraflex Kier. I also had a Johnson Viking Challenger. And the problem was there was a little arc between the dits and the DAWs, and after, maybe 3 or 4 months, I'd have to go in there with a fingernail file and file them down because the dits and the DAWs sort of started sounding funny. Well, I was looking through a CQ or QST, I'm not sure which one. There was this little tiny article in there with this little blue and white box with 2 little red widgets sticking out the front for $14.95. Someplace called Starkville, Mississippi, wherever that was, and it was a Kia. So I sent in my 1495. I got my little MFJ Kia, and lo and behold, no more arcing problems. So I could operate CW and not sound funny. And after that, there was a proliferation of MFJ products. And I don't know how many tail twisters I've got, but I got a whole backyard full of tail twisters. Sometimes I think I support MFJ with all the money I've spent up here. But on behalf of the ARRL Mississippi section, Martin, we appreciate your efforts and your staff. These people have worked hard. I called up here a couple of times, and I had to wait in line for them to get through doing something. So they have put out a tremendous effort in hosting this event there. So like David, I look forward to the 50th. I know Martin said there wasn't going to be any 45, and there wasn't going to be any 40, and I've heard him say he's not going to be any 50, but we shall see. So I'm going to issue a challenge to Martin. I don't know how far I'll get here. If I hold off being section manager a little while longer and don't get it, eliminated, I'll have 25 years in, he'll have 50 years in, and we could go sit in the old codger's home and tell war stories to each other. So, Martin, we appreciate your efforts, and thank you to all the MFJ staff.
Thank you, Malcolm. What Malcolm doesn't realize is there is a local, I say informal, but they're kind of formal. They give money in their collective name together. Martin is a member of a group called the Old Buzzards. I just want you to know that. They have their own shirt. They give money together in the name of the Old Buzzards. So he's ahead of you, Malcolm, in that regard. Listen, if Ray would like to come up, I want to give a little story. Ray will talk about, as my son told me when he was 4 years old, Dad, you talk about yourself and I'll talk about myself and we'll get along just fine. And thus far he and I have. But Ray's successor, not everybody knows Ray sort of started out here. Ray's successor as international sales director is a ham that lives over in East Tennessee now, and his name escapes me. But he was over in Korea or somewhere trying to close a sale, and at the end of a meal, very ritualistic, they brought out, instead of like Chinese fortune cookies, they brought out these 3 snails. They put them on the table, and they started crawling. And this guy looked at them, and they gestured, for you, the guest, honored guest. So he didn't know what to do to make that sale. He got a spoon and ate one of them. He got the sale. So I don't know, Ray, if you've got a story like that. I bet there's some you can tell. But Ray Novak, I call him the Pied Piper of D-Star. He sold America and the world on D-Star with ICOM, and he's in a little different duty now. He has Will Jourdain with him and some others. But Ray Novak from ICOM.
Well, it's funny you'd mention something about eating a snail, because the first time of trying escargot was with Mr. Jew, and it was a dare and said it tasted like chicken. I don't know what kind of chicken he's used to tasting, but that didn't quite go there. But in 1988, Mr. Jew took a chance on me. I was long hair right out of college, didn't prove anything, had mediocre to low grades. I was one of those that didn't come into class all the time, but the electronics was something that I had a knack for. And he took me under his wing and taught me a lot of things about running a business. And the amount of knowledge that he shared, I've taken with me into my job. So hearing everybody talking about giving to the youth and spreading his knowledge, he doesn't hoard that information. It's not something that I'm the only one that he feels that he's the only one that has this knowledge and doesn't want to share it. But it's been a phenomenal story to see him go from just MFJ Enterprises to picking up Ameritron, Vectronics, Mirage, High Gain, Cushcraft, and who knows how many more that he's going to add to his portfolio of amateur radio products. I know I've used a lot of MFJ products and all the other companies as well, and there's not a single person that can say that they haven't benefited from the products that he designs and that he develops. And could you go home and make it cheaper yourself? No, but you wouldn't have the love, the passion, or the dedication to the hobby behind that product that you see from Martin Jew. So for me, Mr. Jew, I appreciate everything that you've done for the hobby, everything that you've done for me and my family with the knowledge that you've shared, and I look forward to coming to number 50.
Thank you, Ray. And let me say that Ray Novak, I don't know if he learned it from Martin. I'm sure some of it rubbed off, but there are a few companies who have a matching and certainly none greater commitment to youth than ICOM under Ray Novak. He has done so much to get young hams into amateur radio and to facilitate what they do. And Mr. Jourdain, Will, are you here? Where's Will Jourdain? Okay, there we go. I had met Will when he was in Mark Holmes' HRO in Atlanta, and just like ICOM snapped up Ray Novak, Ray snapped up Will Jourdain, and Will is here with his father, who's also a ham, and I think that just says a lot about kind of the culture that's at ICOM. So, Mike McKay, what we're going to do now, there are a couple of surprise awards. Mike, that we're going to give. Mike McKay is past president of the Central Mississippi Amateur Radio Association, which meets in Brandon, but it covers people. Come on up, Mike. There's a bag over here. And he is here. He's an attorney by practice and a ham, and is passionate about emergency communications, and he's very involved in that with Malcolm. So Mike wants, on behalf of the Central Mississippi Amateur Radio Association, to give an award to Martin. So Martin, if you'd come up.
Thank you, Frank. A couple of years ago, our group decided that we needed to create some sort of award to recognize people who had done something truly exceptional for the hobby. And one of the people we turned to do this was Dr. Howell. So this award is actually his brainchild. When we created the award, we wanted it to be something exceptional. The award has never been given to anybody in our group, and the criteria for it are that it's somebody with a Mississippi connection and somebody who has done something truly exceptional for ham radio. When we created the award, we had 2 or 3 people in mind that we'd like to eventually give it to, and of course, one of those was Martin. And we appreciate everything Martin has done for our hobby and for our group. Through Frank, Martin came down a couple years ago and did just this most phenomenal program, very well attended, explaining antenna analyzers in a way that most of us will never understand. I'm fond of telling our group, when we have speakers that speak, they'll talk about something very technical, and I'm fond of saying, wait, I'm a liberal arts major, so, you know, we got to keep that in mind. But Martin did a wonderful job of explaining things you would never know about antenna analyzers and several of the other products. The name for the award also is credited to Dr. Howell. We decided to call it the High Cotton Award, and the term dates back to the early 20th century, and the ideology of it is that it referred to a time when the 1920s, when cotton prices were rising and other commodity prices were falling, so cotton was thought to be a really good thing. And it also has a sort of a second genesis in the fact that tall cotton bolls typically produce more cotton. So we thought that was a good name because we wanted the name of the award to be something uniquely Southern. So a lot of people, including Dr. Howell, have talked about Martin's many accomplishments, so I won't belabor those anymore. But Martin, on behalf of the Central Mississippi Amateur Radio Association, in recognition for everything you've done for our hobby, for our state, and for our communities, we would like to present you with the High Cotton Award.
Thank you very much. And I know what cotton is, being from the Mississippi Delta.
Martin, you might want to hang around a little bit. Not to be forgotten, if you would help me, just hold the bag. My internationally famous blog, Fox Mike Hotel. I don't think I've posted in the last year, but I'm fixing to. We're also giving our first award, and it's an award that we call the Gray Goose Award. And Martin, if you would reach into that bag and pull out what's in there.
Okay, this thing's kind of heavy.
And Martin, I will say that the terms of this award that are vested in me, you can be a repeat winner.
Frank, why didn't you get a bigger bottle? Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, Martin. You're very, very welcome. Okay, now we've got a surprise for you. If Randy Romero is in the house. Randy Romero. There he goes. Now we have what we're calling the big reveal. There has been, over 45 years in the making, the central question about MFJ Enterprises was going to be publicly revealed. And you know, Malcolm, he said he wasn't going to be no thing beyond the 45, so some of you may be sad when we reveal this, and I'm very honored to be asked to make it. And it's kind of telling you something when the HR director is the one making the announcement. Richard, I think you'll be able to find work. I don't think you're going to have any problems. So, all right, the big reveal at the center of MFJ is the following. Randy Romero.
Thank you, Frank. I've been working for MFJ for 24 years. During that time, many times I've been asked this question. I guess people thought I would know. They said, what's that F stand for? What does that F in MFJ stand for? And for a long time, I didn't know, to be quite honest. Finally, one day, I found out because I was booking some plane tickets. And I'm going to tell y'all what that is. But before I do, I want to tell you a couple of things that will that I think of when I think of Martin Jew. I asked a couple of people, including his wife, if these descriptions were accurate, and she said they were. Ambitious, driven, determined, relentless, strong-willed, resolved, persevering, ambitious, motivated, certain, intent, and consumed. And I can tell you this, when he gets on a new product, he is consumed. He doesn't do it quite as much, but he used to just spend day and night, literally for weeks, working on one thing, literally like a man possessed to get that product completed and out. I said all that to say his middle name doesn't suit him that well, but we're going to reveal it now. His middle name is Fun Guang. So the fun part comes when he breaks into that Gray Goose. If any of y'all have ever been to a ham fest or out with Mr. Jew, he likes to have fun. And that is, you are just a small inkling of folks in the whole ham radio world. So when you hear that question, you'll know. Fun. Let's have a big hand for that. Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks, Randy. Randy, it's interesting. Randy has known me and also knew my wife kind of separately for a number of years before we got married, and we were down at a fundraiser for the Mississippi Children's Hospital, and Randy had a little mini stroke when he saw Beverly and me together because he finally put it together that's who Beverly was married to. And I did marry up, so I will kind of admit to that. I can concur with Betty about what I know about Martin. When he gets on something, he stays on it fairly doggedly. That's for sure. Richard Stubbs is here from his tour guide role. He's been playing all week there at MFJ and doing that. And I think, have I forgotten anything? Let me ask something. How many people are from Mississippi? Inside the state. All right, who is from outside of Mississippi? Okay, that's a pretty good showing. Now, I'm going to guess, we got somebody from Boston, I know, because I met the gentleman. Where's the gentleman from Boston? Came down with Tom Medley. Okay. All right, good. All right, and we've got a gentleman from United Kingdom. Where in the United Kingdom do you live? 3 miles east of London, where the Red Barn used to be? Very good. You know Martin Butler? Okay, he has a podcast.
That's Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean, okay. All right, good. So we've got, it's kind of amazing in a little small town with this kind of attraction. We've got people from all over. So I wanted to recognize that. Now, Richard, come on over here, young man. King Richard. Yeah, King Richard, the man who is the king of low prices. And how do you do it, Richard? Volume. All right, Richard, say a couple of words here.
All right. Thank y'all to everybody that came out today and shopped with us. And thank you, Mr. Jew, for having us. We've been with MFJ as a dealer, I don't know, 5 years, maybe 6. We've been in business about 8. And I started out buying MFJ as just a young ham, about 21 or 22 years old, and never dreamed I'd be standing here in Starkville, Mississippi and selling MFJ, but it just turned out that way. Want to, again, thank y'all for coming. Y'all come to Paris in a couple of weeks, October 14th, 2 weeks, and we're going to have a big blowout.
Now, that's how you sell your XYL. Honey, would you like to go to Paris?
That's it. Bring her up, let her go shopping in Paris, and it'll be awesome. But thank y'all for having us. It's been a great weekend.
Great. Thank you, Richard and Tammy. And, not every store, will take trades, but they will negotiate. And I don't know about goats or anything. If you're in the market for those trades. Anything to eat. That's right. It's a lost leader, isn't it? When you do that. Okay.